Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. For Ice, I'm your ever-loving host, Shorty. We'll look at The Devil in the Herd today, a Western horror comic, and honestly, uh, Western horror is enough for me to be paying attention anyway. The fact that it's done by Invader really gave me a little bit more of a boost to actually put my name online for this one, hit it to my subscription list, rather than just order it for the shop, give it a read and see what I think. Because Invader is responsible for Digger, which has been absolutely brilliant. From the moment I picked it up, I've loved every single bit of it. It is one of the most boldest, most out there comics I've read this year. It's on my best of the year list. Now, all that being said means there was a distinct possibility I could be disappointed by this one. I'm not gonna lie, when I first opened it up and flicked through, there was a hint of a thought of oh, because the artwork at very first glimpse is a little bit, it's less exciting, less interesting than Digger. However, it really didn't take long to actually open the book properly, pay attention to what's being done, and realise just how clever the simplicity is. And it's not all simple, but there are times when it gets away with not needing to do much else until your eye is dragged in a little bit. You see the extra detail they put into the light and shadow, and a very dynamic shadow, by the way. It very rarely goes too heavy, except in particular character beats, because this isn't a crime noir thing. It isn't all set at night with the rich, heavy inks. It is a prairie story. It is people driving cattle out of Santa Fe. It is a lot more colourful than a lot of people would have you believe that area of the country to be, but it is that pretty. The colouring, by the way, is spectacular. I mean, Caitlin Windles does the entire thing. She's the writer and the artist on this one, and she's absolutely nailed everything I wanted for it. With one exception, and this is like the smallest of small criticisms. I will get back to throwing heaps of praise on it in a second, I promise. But there's a couple of times when you compare a horse in motion, which looks absolutely immaculate. There's something about the way the ears move or are framed. Some of the horses have their mouths open, some don't. But when we see horses stationary, sometimes they don't look like there's been quite enough attention paid to them. It's not terrible, but it's something I noticed, and I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't bring it up. But back to the stuff that I loved. Oh my god, yes, the colouring. The colouring. There's an opening page where we do get to see the sun behind the landscape, the different colours that feed into it, and some choices made are very bold. Some of these aren't going for naturalistic, they're going for tone, and I feel like that is a choice that runs throughout the book, and every single time it works brilliantly. There are times when we don't really get much in the way of background, we don't get much in the way of colour that really matches the scene at all, because we have a sudden burst of intense emotion or action, and when that happens, the colour palette goes along with it and gets dragged on the ride, and it takes your eye with it in ways that I find absolutely brilliant and captivating. I'm going to do another very, very small criticism here, but this one is absolutely going to have some caveats at the end, which pretty much derail my thought process, but I kind of like going through how it occurred to me. Because as a fan of the Wild West, somebody who read an awful lot of books and watched an awful lot of movies and TV shows about it, it did concern me ever so slightly. Again, this is my early flick through, where, with the exception of the person who I believe is literally Satan, everyone else is a white character. Satan is the only one that comes across as non-white. But a couple of clarifications to make sure that this is not taken out of context. Literally just as I was thinking through, I was a bit like, oh, I would have expected a little bit more variation in, culture and that kind of thing. The Wild West was far more of a wide-ranging kind of place than most people think. But the blackness of the devil character isn't skin tone, it is pure blackness, and I don't mind that. I think there's maybe better people than me to say stuff like the guy who wrote the N-word of God would probably have some interesting things to say about that. But for me, it's okay, we're going for something different than just colorism or anything like that here. Plus, in terms of the story, and this is a beat I absolutely loved, genuinely love this bit, Satan is played the way I prefer him, which is this idea that, yes, technically bad things, and he was punished by God, but what he does is punish bad people. This isn't a story of Satan being evil and taking petty revenge and doing terrible things to upset the balance of humanity. It is Satan going after a genuine piece of shit and making him pay for it. So having him as somebody who is a little bit off, a bit out there, somebody who doesn't look like they belong, but is doing something for the greater good in a less sinister kind of way, I'm down for that. Really, really did like it. Some of the other background characters don't get as long to really flesh themselves out, but I didn't mind that either, because this is a really good, fantastic bit of tight storytelling. A lot of horror movies I've watched recently feel like they should have been a 20-minute segment on the VHS anthology that came out recently, but This understands that it doesn't need to be a 6-part thing or a huge graphic novel. It tells its story, perfectly paced, very tightly controlled, with just enough room for everything that I need, doesn't outstay its welcome, and is beautiful on every single page. Genuinely is amazing. Invader Comics, keep it up. Caitlin Windell's, I'm going to keep an eye out for the rest of your stuff, because that was amazing. That's it for me for now, though. Until I see you all again, look after yourself, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.